Just stats, Reggie Johnson, Eugene Morton coming to you from the lovely city of Atlanta, Georgia. I don't really like this view, Eugene. Let's go back to our smaller view here.
I like that view. There you go.
We are going to be going over our Mount Rushmore series here again. Playground street ball tier here. I guess these because this is what your criteria is here. So these players, doesn't matter if they won a title, can be a player before or during their lifespan, can include off to the side player here. Now, you don't think you have an off to the side player for this tier. And this tier, are these guys that you would just want to have in a contest? Let's go full screen for the people. Or like if you're on the playground and you got to pick these guys and these guys are waiting.
Yeah, I kind of thought of the concept. I tried watching. What I came up with was I was trying to watch the new White Man Can't Jump. And by the way, don't waste your time. Not as good as the original.
Goodness gracious!
Right?
Well, Snipes and Harrelson, man, it's classic.
It's
here.
classic, right? So
Sean Kemp's our first player for our first for our podcast audience who cannot see the screen here. And were they picking people in that show? Is that how that? I forgot. I haven't watched White Man. I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but excellent movie, man. I don't know if there's Spike Lee, that original. Excellent movie, either way, man.
I don't remember Spike Lee, but yeah, I just remember that. Yeah, they were just like street ball, just picking guys, and they're like, remember, give them the chump. It's like, so I was like, oh, what a great like. You go to a street ball, it's like when you're running 5-on-5, you just it's like next guy up, and you're always picking somebody. So yeah, that's my imagination. You're just picking just random basketball players. And I didn't want to kind of choose more kind of the street ball.
Ron Shelton, actually, not Spike Lee. Ron Shelton.
Okay.
And Sean Kemp, your first guy here. I'm not going to really go over the stats here for a lot of these players. These aren't really stat-based players. These are just kind of like players who played for a long time, even though he did play over 1,000 games in the league there for Sean Kemp. 6-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA player here. Why Kemp here?
I just remember him from my childhood. I think when you and I first met, we were just talking about different players that we loved from our childhood. And by the way, I'm talking about skinny Sean Kemp. I'm talking about Supersonic.
Man,
Supersonic, right?
You're talking about Supersonic Sean Kemp.
Yeah, I'm talking about Supersonic. Yeah, just a guy,
Gary Payton with the glove.
Yes, right. So just a guy you would see and just like, oh, I want him. Like, I don't care. He's tall. You can just throw the ball up to him, and he's gonna do something with it. And that's the criteria of a street ball guy, right? You're not looking for, this is not a stats guy. You're looking for the guy who can just throw it up to him, you just throw it anywhere, he's gonna go get it, he's gonna dunk it. So that was my pick. That's why I picked him.
What's interesting is at one point they were really making a run. I'm not sure if they were in the finals or the playoffs.
They were in the finals.
The playoffs.
The 93 finals
for sure.
I'm sorry. Yeah, 92 finals versus no, was it? I'm trying to
look that up here because we have definitely. I definitely remember him in the glove though.
Yeah,
him in the glove doing their thing out there. It's a tragedy they lost their team. Man. I think Seattle might get a team back though here.
Oh yeah, they're going to be on one of the expansion teams.
They're going to be on the short list, right, to get one of those expansion teams back. But yeah, that was exciting times with Sean Kemp and Gary Payton there. Now, what's interesting is of all the players you could have chosen, because this was kind of surprising. You do have Jason Williams here. Did
Easy.
I say his last name right?
Yeah, it's Jason Williams. You got him.
Jason Williams here.
Or you can just call him what he's always called.
Right? White chocolate, man.
I mean, that's
absolutely.
That's what he's always called.
That's the way I knew him from. I didn't even know Jason Williams. White chocolate, man.
You're like,
chocolate.
Who's this?
The White Iverson, man. He's talking about White Iverson back in the day. This is before Post Malone, man. You know what I mean? Like, he was breaking people down back then. So tell us about Jason Williams. Why your pick there?
Well, it's funny. I used to, when I was in high school, there's this guy. Shout out to Eric Blair, and Eric Blair was the white chocolate of our high school. Right? He was just did all the moves, did all the things. I mean, he had the dribble, could do the no look passes. Kind of like Jason Williams, right? Wasn't a high percentage field goal shooter. It's like, it just was that exciting player. I mean, maybe if he had better shooting numbers, but again, your typical guy, if you leave him open, yes, he's gonna shoot. If you contest him, probably not gonna make it, but just another fun guy. Again, could you imagine? I know the glove is great, but could you imagine him throwing up just alley-oop passes to Sean Kemp? I mean, that's just amazing.
The only issue you have with that, man, is who's going to say, and nobody's stopping anybody then, man. They're going to have to score like 1,000,000 points with that guy on the team. The gloves.
Come on, there was no defense in street ball.
Well, that's true. That's true. I mean, those guys, if we're talking just pure street ball, these guys are walking, man, walking and traveling. Forget about it. Like,
Right.
it's just, you're right. There's not exactly refs out there. Even though some of those Rucker leagues, man, for some of those leagues, they'll bring referees out there. They'll try to keep it somewhat
Right.
polished. Not exactly NBA game, but some structure out there. I liked
Right.
Jason Williams. He got a chip, I think, with that. Was it the Miami Heat? Where did
He
it?
what?
Was it the
He does
Heat?
in the Miami Heat. Mhm.
Was it?
It was.
Ah,
You're correct.
man, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting
Just
because he played
no
with a few different teams there. So I was trying to remember, like, was that the Heat that he got that chip with? Um, but it's interesting because he's you don't see a lot of players like him. Oh,
no.
because even when you look at the white guys that can play today, like your Doncic, your Jokic, right? They're not breaking people down like Jason Williams was back in the
No.
day.
No,
He had the
exactly.
handles, man, right? And
Right.
is that like one some of the criteria there? Just having that handle?
Yeah, just having that he was just that kind of that first guy remembers like when you go to the playground and you would see Allen Iverson also fits in this criteria, but guys that would just because I mean back then, you just it was like more polished. You couldn't be like doing these trick things. We didn't see a lot. I mean, it was like Magic and there was kind of a little big drop off from those kind of like like showing out. It was kind of frowned upon. So yeah, it was just it just met that criteria. That's what he felt like one of our own, making it to the NBA. Obviously, Iverson being the first, but Jason Williams being the other one.
We have Vince Carter here at your third position here. Now let's talk about that for a little bit because Vince, when I think about Vince Carter, and you'll see kind of my list because my list differs from this list quite a bit. So you'll see kind of what my list.
I love it.
I don't know
I
if I
love
would
it.
have had him like on. He's like a good dunker, but I'm
Yeah,
not sure about like my street ball picks. What are your? Let's talk about that for you. What are you?
I
Amazing
just
career, by the way. Amazing. This guy
amazing
played forever.
career. Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking like the Toronto days. It just again, just an amazing dunker. Like, I feel like after he left the slam dunk contest, it died. Right? I mean, just you don't really remember slam dunk contests after he left. Not left, but stopped doing them. Obviously,
Mhm.
couldn't do them anymore. But I don't know. Just felt like just a fun guy to have, right? You just want that fun guy. I mean, and he was at least had some really good, shooting numbers. Wasn't the best, but just fit that. Again, you're this is like straight ball, throw them up. Again, kind of in kind of that Sean Kemp genre, but not really. Just more powerful dunker than
I like
you.
him. I feel like his skill set is a little better than Kemp's, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh,
He should do a couple
absolutely.
things a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah.
better.
Yes, absolutely. Like again, you need kind of that. I need to have at least a shooter on this list. I was I couldn't at least have somebody that could shoot the ball a little bit. Not saying it was great, but at least he hit the 43% on the field goal percentages every now and then.
That's hilarious. And you know what's funny is shout out to Tracy McGrady, his cousin,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Cousin. Is he going into the Hall of Fame, man? I think he deserves it. I think he should go. I mean,
I'm
well,
not
guess
su-
we'll see what happens, man.
I think McGrady should
16.7
be.
points. And McGrady, I think, got in. I
Oh,
don't
that's right.
think
You're right.
Vince Carter hasn't got in though. So, but
Because
if
he
he
recently
did get
retired.
in,
Right.
correct. I think it's like a four. I don't know
Mhm.
if it's 5 year. I think 5 year definitely in NFL. I'm not sure what it is in NBA.
Yeah, it's around
But
that same time.
that'd be amazing, right? Two cousins,
Yeah.
both in the Hall of Fame. Your cousin just happens not to suck,
Right.
and Tracy McGrady. And I think Tracy McGrady played for the Toronto too, I think at one point, if I'm not
They both did.
mistaken. I
You're
think he
right.
did.
Yep.
Yes, a lot of this stuff is just coming right off the top, ladies and gents. So we have to fact check some of these things, but uh, it's amazing to have two excellent players like that in the same family, right? And
Right.
Vince played forever, man.
He
Over
did.
1,500 games. For
He
1,500
did.
games, man. 22 years. 22 years in this game. That's incredible. Only 16.7 points on the average. I'd be interested to see if he does make it into the Hall. You got our guy here. Last guy on your list is Dominique.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Neek. There's really not much to talk about Neek. By the way, I got that picture in my Photoshop skills here. Got
I
that
love it.
picture from his Georgia picture.
Oh,
This
nice.
throwback,
Throw the
Dominique
throwback Georgia
Georgia picture. Yeah,
picture.
man.
Yeah.
Of course, when you talk about players like Dominique, they're all throwback pictures. But
Yeah,
in this
right?
particular case, the Georgia picture though for him. But human highlight, come on, what is there really else to talk about?
Yeah,
ATL
right.
status, Atlanta
Exactly.
Hawks. There's nothing really else to speak about here. I love when I could put anybody from Atlanta on any of the lists that we do.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
Dominique is interesting though. First round, he was picked by the Utah Jazz. I'm not sure how it went, how and when he got to us, but I don't remember him as a Hawk. I know that you kind of bounce around. And another interesting tidbit is born in Paris, France. He was born there. So give me the thoughts here. Why Dominique?
A true homer pick. I mean, come on. If I'm gonna be running the street, if I'm running street ball in Atlanta, I got to have somebody from Atlanta on my squad, right? So I mean, it's gonna be him. It's like, and it's gonna be so. I've got my finesse dunker. I've got just the wow factor with Vince. Now I got the guy who's gonna eventually we're gonna have to shut the court down because he's gonna break the rim. So I mean, it's just like I had to get again, true homer pick. I loved him. He's one of the reasons why I love basketball today. I saw him when I was a
Yeah,
kid.
man,
So
excellent
I mean,
player.
yeah, I could not leave him. I mean, I know him. I'm gonna have him some other list of ours coming up, but I didn't want. I was trying not to double up some guys, but it's like I could not leave him off this list. It's like there's I was trying, and my list was like what guys I'm on the street I want to play ball with, and he's obviously my number one.
Man, I doubled up some guys too, man. I think maybe I just doubled up one guy. I'm trying to think. I think maybe I just doubled up one guy from
Uh-huh.
a previous list that we had. I had to fight not doubling up and putting Kareem on this list because he's such a great
Right.
player. Kareem's an excellent street ball player for people who don't remember. So it looks like my list is going to be more so composed of actual like people who played street ball that made it to the NBA. It's kind of like the criteria
Interesting.
that I had for my
I like
list,
it.
guys that were known for playing street ball that happen to be in the NBA because that's very hard to do with a lot of these players. And we'll kind of discuss that with my off to the mountain side player that I'm going to have here. But no argument here. Dominique Wilkins, Georgia, Atlanta status. Just nothing really I can say critical. I can't be really critical about that. That's the problem with having two Atlanta Hawks, Atlanta guys on the same
Right.
show.
We're not gonna.
No way in the world we're going to
No
argue
way.
anything negative
Nope.
about Dominique
Nope.
Wilkins here.
Absolutely not.
At the Omni. Remember what it's called, the Omni?
That's where I saw him. Was at the
Is that where
Omni.
you went? It's where you went and
That's
saw
where
him,
the
right? I think
first.
he only played there.
Yep. That's it.
So I got my first guy, Julius Erving, is the guy that I doubled
Oh.
up because I love Dr. J.
Mhm.
I love Dr. J, man. Dr. J is the only guy I've ever approached at any event I've ever been to. Actually, two guys, but only athlete I've ever approached. Now, Dr. J, I don't think I really need to go down his resume. He was a baller up in. I don't know if he got the Dr. J moniker when he was playing kind of in street ball, and a lot of these street ball guys had maturation periods in New York. I'm not sure, if he was playing at the Rucker, I have to go back and look and see. But I definitely know that a lot of these street ball guys that are on my list, at least, got some honorable mentions here at the end, were New York guys who played. So Dr. J is my first guy on my mountain. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I can't argue. I mean, it's a great pick. Just again, another guy. You could just throw it down the block and just watch. Right? It's like, throw it down the block, sit down on the couch, get some popcorn, and let him do his thing. You're just gonna watch. You're not gonna, it's just, it's just again, kind of was the human highlight film before. Dominic kind of
Predecessor to Jordan and all them, man. You saw that
Yeah.
Jordan dunk. That was Julius was pulling that thing off years prior. By
Right.
the way,
The up and under the, how Jordan would start, from the side of the rim or from the side of the backboard and kind of flip it out the other side with his hand. So
yeah, man.
Dr. J did that as well. So I mean, gosh, no, this, the only reason I was choosing were my list, and that's fine. You more than welcome to double up. I was just trying not to do that, but no, I mean,
it was hard, man. I had to put
it really was, right?
I could pretty much put him and Kareem on like most of my list. I really love those players and players from this era, and because I'm going to keep going down kind of like the old era here with my next pick. It might be surprising to you. And in a good portion of my list, and that's why I kind of had to change it up a bit, is like it would have had guys on it who had played before, like pretty much I was born. At least most of their career, they started. I think he was a rookie in 71, 72.
Uh-huh.
So this next guy coming up, he's going to be even further back. I want to say, I think he's going to be like his rookie years were in the late 60s. So one of the things is interesting to see how all these guys kind of feed into these guys, right? Like you said, you have these guys that start, and then you're kind of piggybacking off of them, and you'll kind of see that also later on in my list. I kind of split between 2 modern players and 2 kind of like throwback players. And I don't know if both of these guys. I know Julius, he played in the ABA and played in the NBA.
Yep, he did.
I'm not sure if all these guys did, because I know not everybody had to do that. No. My next guy is Earl the Pearl Monroe.
Oh,
now for people who do not know, Earl the Pearl was that guy, man. He's and I will go down some of his stats. I don't think I've gone down his stats before. 18.8, 926 on the games played. He did not play in the ABA, but he was an amazing street ball player. Black Jesus is what they called him. I think more so referred to that. I think maybe his Earl the Pearl moniker was more so when he got into the NBA, played for the Washington Bullets. Remember they were called the Washington Bullets. Remember that?
I do remember
the Washington Bullets, man. You think that'll go you can't say that kind of stuff these days, right?
No, that's why they changed the name.
The Washington Guns.
Yeah, you went
Hall of Famer for him, man. He played, I think, on that New York Knicks team too, if I'm not mistaken. I think he played with the Knicks and won a chip with them. And with Clyde Frazier and all them. I have to look that up to see if he was out there actually with them. But player from bygone era, street ball legend in Earl the Pearl Monroe. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I completely forgot about him. It's one of those. Like I said, I was just kind of keep thinking more of the current ones. But it's like, man, you pulled out the magic one there. I mean, it's like. It's always one of those ones. It's like, oh, you go to YouTube and I'm going to look up Kareem and I'm going to look at this player.
Look them up, guys.
Look them up. It's like, especially now with the technology getting better and they're just bringing back they're updating the film and just making it, updating everything. It just looks more amazing, right? Just the technology is getting better. So I highly recommend everyone looking up, because you got to take 10, you'll take 5 minutes and then you'll just be down the rabbit hole watching just his videos and just what he did, how amazing he was.
Yeah, he was, it's funny because the style of basketball, I think, felt like it was played around that era, is like basketball as kind of like an art style. Something I saw in an old interview with Julius Erving, and he was kind of talking about that, how every guy kind of had their style, whether it was Walt Frazier had his style, whether it was Earl the Pearl had his style, Julius had his style. Everybody kind of had a style of playing back then. And I feel like Earl kind of fits right into this list because of his street ball legend that he was before he kind of got to this point. Now, what's interesting is as we kind of go into this list now, because we're kind of going to be getting into NBA champ too, by the way, 4-time All-Star for this man. I had to put the Hall of Famer out there. Hall of Fame. I will tell you guys about that. He is a Hall of Famer. But as we kind of go into this list, going to modernize a bit, maybe probably some guys here that you have heard of that I was kind of surprised weren't on your list. One is going to be surprised. We've got the next 2 guys coming up. One is going to be a shocker here, and one's not. So Allen Iverson is the not shocker, in my opinion.
No,
I got to have AI on this list, man. I cannot have a list like this and not have a guy like AI on here, man. Breaking folks down. He's white. What is he listed? 6 foot? Is he listed at 6 foot, 6'1"?
I think it's at 6. Yeah,
he's listed at 6 foot even,
he's
right?
6 foot, but I think that's if he's
6
wearing
foot
some
165, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
still giving you 26.7 per game, 914 on the games played by him, man. And this is before the 3-point shot. And even with these other guys that we were talking about with some of these scores, this is before, like when we were talking about the Earl the Pearls of the world and Julius Erving, they played before I think there even was a 3-point line in the league. In some days, I think that they started that in ABA, I want to say. So maybe Julius was playing with it, Earl was not. But AI, come on, man. How do I have a team like this and don't have AI on a team like this, man?
Right.
Anytime you have your own, like the AI, the answer, and you have your own moniker, man, I feel like that's part of being in the street ball, right?
Yep.
Dr. J, Earl the Pearl Monroe, you're going to see that as a theme in my list here. All these guys had names. You can be a bum and have a name.
You went for more like the finesse guys for your list. I just went for everyone that can dunk the ball. So I I mean, we went the exact opposite, which is amazing.
AI is going to give you 27 and 6. I mean, he's passing the rock too, man.
He is.
He's not just out there trying to score, man. What's your thoughts on him?
I did. The only reason I didn't choose him because he's on another list, and that's the only. You're right. He is the perfect one. And you're talking, like I said, if it's 1A, he's 1A in the street ball. Because again, he was one of those guys. You're like, everyone wanted to play street ball, wanted to be him. That everyone in the playground wanted to be like Mike. No, everyone that I remember wanted to be AI. Everyone wanted to have his ball handle, especially like I'm saying like guys like our size, like the smaller size, because we knew we were Jordan. We knew we weren't dunking, but we wanted to have those handles. We wanted to be like because again, Allen Iverson and
that's a precursor to your Jason Williams right there, man. That's your white chocolate. It's a precursor to that. He's also the precursor to the next guy on my list, who I wasn't gonna put on my list because we've done shows about him before. But I am a very objective guy. I've never knocked talent when I do see it. But I feel like AI was also a precursor to him as well. And when you look at around the time that AI was playing, remember he broke Jordan down in that one game.
He did.
That was when he first got in the league.
That's one of the best videos, and I think it's
was no Jordan, but he did break him down, and that's something you can take to the grave right there, right? Like, I broke you down one time, and that's something that you can take to the grave. But it's unfortunate. I felt like he would have at least one championship, just being as good as he was. But of course, you're playing around the time that Kobe and Shaq and then we're playing, so they were sending a lot of folks home,
right
around that time.
Finals. And this is I knew this was coming up. Yep.
You knew Kyrie, man.
Yep.
Kyrie Irving, Uncle Drew. I got to put him on my list, man. Now, we've ranted and raved about Kyrie on the show a million times about the dumb decisions we thought he made when he was in Brooklyn. But the guy is that guy, man.
He is.
The guy is the guy. I don't know about the world be flat. Come on, man. I don't know who put that. I don't know who put that moniker in here. I'm not sure if that's one he went by. But definitely Uncle Drew. That's the one, at least the one I know him as. What are your thoughts here on Mr. Irvin?
I mean,
you say you saw it coming. You
I
knew
did.
It was coming.
I felt it coming.
When did you know it was coming?
When you put Allen Iverson up there. When you had Allen Iverson, I bet I knew Kyrie's coming back. I know it because you had the pattern. You're going with and now you have the probably 1A, 1B, right? The best ball handlers.
Yeah, man.
Remember, so yeah. Again, we talked ad nauseum about his off the court, but on the court, it's just he is one of those guys you want to watch, right? You want to if you're in the building. If you ever get a chance to see him play, it's just, just the ball, the handling. And I don't know if this is true, but I read somewhere, and I don't know if it's, again, if it is, it just adds more of this charisma of him and the awesomeness is how he gets that ball handling skills. It says he puts the basketball in like a plastic bag. So it makes it like it slips and slides.
And we all need to do it then.
Right?
If that's all it takes, right?
Right.
Some plastic bags upstairs, I can make that happen.
Yeah, but again, yeah, there's they can't argue. I just love the differences of the team. That's just amazing.
Yeah, and look, born in Melbourne, Australia, right? So we got a guy born in France, born in Paris on your list. Got a guy born in Melbourne. I didn't know he was born in Melbourne. But that guy handles, man. The handles are incredible.
Oh,
and when I think about guys who are playing in the street ball, that you got to have the handles. This next guy, you're probably not. I don't know if you're gonna know this next guy. I'm gonna give some background on him. I'm not sure if most people are gonna know this next guy. I feel like you got to kind of have to know street ball to know him. And I have a couple guys here at the end, Eugene, I'm gonna talk about because they deserve an honorable mention. I just couldn't put them on my list, but I will definitely speak on them here towards the end. But ending up on Kyrie, I'm glad he at least got that championship out of LeBron when he was there.
Yeah,
I don't know if another one's headed his way, but he's played with some pretty good players, so maybe so. But I'm at least glad he got the one there with LeBron because I love seeing great players. It's kind of like what Iverson was missing, right? Like so I love seeing great players get that validation because they seem to be looked at differently. Not everybody's gonna be Charles Barkley, man. We can't all be Sir Charles who can kind of come out on the other side of that. So my last guy here is Rafer Alston. For people who know, they know him as Skip to Malou. Now, Skip to Malou was a N1 back in the N1 kind of days. Do you know? Have you heard of N1? Hot Sauce and all those players. So this is what I was kind of alluding to earlier. if you are one of those players, whether it was Hot Sauce Earthquake, they had the white dude, the white kid Professor. Professor has a YouTube channel, by the way, where he plays in like a spider, costumes. He plays in like a
Yes.
Spider-Man
Uh-huh.
outfit, destroying folks out there. That
Yep.
thing's getting millions of views, by the way, too. He's got a ton of views, but he's just breaking guys down out there on the court. The Professor, but a lot of these guys didn't make it to the NBA though, and that was kind of
Right.
like the knock, right? Because you see them and they don't make it to the NBA, and Skip, he's not going to have a lot of accolades, but the accolade is he did make it to the NBA, and he was part
Right.
of that group of human beings, that incredible N1 group of human beings who were bringing street ball into the fore at that time with their mixtapes and stuff like that. None of those guys were making it. I used to love watching Hot Sauce, right? Hot Sauce break folks down out there. It was amazing watching it. But the fact that Skip was able to actually make it to the NBA was amazing for me. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, look at that. Played 11 years. And you can see the jerseys like he was a journeyman. So, I mean,
Yeah,
this
game,
is
right? You play
right.
over 600 games in the NBA. You've done something.
You've done something, and you're right. And again, he was probably the best out of all of them. So he was probably the only one that was going to make it, and he did it. So I mean, he proved that that style of play could make it in the NBA. Which again, it's just yeah, I totally forgot about him. I was now I want to watch some N1 and some mixtapes now. That's an amazing
Those
pick.
N1 mixtapes, man. So my last guys here, I'm gonna give a few seconds to because I had to do it. Connie Hawkins, one of the goats of playground football out here. And he's the only reason I couldn't include him on my list is because I didn't want to have like a geriatric list, a list that like went up like everybody on this list played before like 80. So I was like, let me put some other people on this list and people are actually going to know who they are. But if you watch basketball, if you're a fan of basketball, do you definitely know who Connie Hawkins is? Because Connie Hawkins was a good NBA player, but he was also a great street player here, just like this last player that is going to be coming up here soon that I'm going to talk about, which unfortunately didn't work out as well for him. And that's Earl the GOAT Manigault. Now, people who know about basketball, street ball in general, know that Earl the GOAT Manigault, if you go look at any list, street ball list, he's going to be top 5, I almost guarantee, on all these lists. He was one of the best human beings to ever touch a basketball. However, I think it was substance abuse and he had some issues. There's a great movie out there. It's called Rebound that you should check out. Go check out. And then go check out some tape. If you get a chance to go on YouTube and check out some Earl Manigault footage, you should do so. Especially because I feel like he was I wouldn't say necessarily overshadowed, because it's kind of like you earn it's kind of like you make your bed. So I can't say that he didn't deserve what happened. The fact that he wasn't able to kind of put it all together and make it to the league. There's plenty of stories like that, but a lot of stories that are like that.
Yep.
Correct, right? Where guys are just somehow, and not even just from a street ball perspective. Sometimes it's from a college perspective, right? Sometimes it's from a perspective like, these guys, they played in college, but it just didn't work out. It just didn't work out. But I had to add him to my list there. What are your thoughts on that last player before we get out of here?
I love it. I love our list. I love who the differences, the errors, and it's just one of those things. And like you said, we could he could be our poster child of like, why didn't he make it type of list? He could be the number
when you're
one.
So good in one area, right?
So good in one area. It's like, how did you not make it? I mean, we see that, but that's the thing. We see that across all sports, right? And so
you feel like that happened to Leitner when Leitner was so great. Now, of course, we're talking about two totally different things. We're talking about like street ball, Earl the GOAT, and then we're talking about Christian Leitner, who was like, I think he was playing on the U.S. Olympic team. I think he was on the Olympic team, but when he comes to the NBA, he wasn't a bum, but he wasn't the guy.
No, he wasn't like a Duke. He didn't come off there, but I mean, he has some productive years. But yeah, you would. I mean, you're not calling him a bust, but you're not calling him. You're calling him. He is a journeyman, and you would have expected that how he played at Duke and just everything that he accomplished here. You would have thought, right, he's coming out and being like just that next guy, or one of the top next guys,
destroying folks.
Right.
Well, I mean, maybe I can't say maybe next time he's old now. I'm not sure.
He's
Like I'm not
still
sure what he's doing. Is he like what is he doing? Is he coaching? What is it seems like you should be doing something
he should
with
be.
that
Maybe
talent.
he's
Maybe he just made enough money, but some of these guys, they get their money, man, and they go like farming or something. They go off the grid. They don't really care no more about it.
Karl
I can
Malone.
see Jokic doing that, man. I
Oh,
can see
Jokic is
Jokic. I feel
we'll
like
never see him
Jokic,
again.
once he's done, is gonna
Never
be
see
off
him.
the grid, man.
Yep.
You're never gonna see. He's gonna be somewhere with his horses, man.
Was it exactly? We'll never see him again. He'll never.
You're never
He's like,
seeing this guy.
you're gonna do how they got 30 for 30 of him. He's like, hey, when's the last time you played basketball? The last time I went up before I retired. He's never gonna touch a basketball again. Guarantee it.
This is Just the Stats. Reggie Johnson, Eugene Morton. Check us out. Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. We are also posting these on YouTube as well. And check out our TikToks. And maybe one day I think I did log into my Instagram the other day. I don't know. And I might do it again, ladies and gents, here at one point in my life. Thank you for checking us out.